What's happening, people? It's your boy, the Boxing Lowdown here for episode number 98. We're almost at 100, man. Episode 98 of the Boxing Lowdown podcast, man. I'm delighted to be joined, as always, by the main man, my father, of course. Not in London today, man. Where you at?
I'm in York, which is North Yorkshire. Lovely part of the world, actually. Yeah, man. I'm really liking it up here. I've been up here now since Monday. Myself and my partner, and we've just been chilling most of the days, doing some sightseeing, eating, drinking, not much gym work. Well, there is a gym in the hotel, but I don't think I haven't used it since I've come here. Been a bit lazy, but that's okay.
Need a little staycation, man.
Yeah. But I do recommend it up here, man. It's very nice. People are very nice and friendly. It's quite laid back, very different to London. But yeah, very nice city. Lots to do up there as well.
Well, we won't since you're away, we won't keep you for too long, man. We'll try and keep this to an hour today for sure. But quite a lot to talk about, man. So want to delve into it. But before I do, let me just send a note out to anybody that joins. You know what to do. Hit the like button on the way in, share the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And yeah, let's keep it moving, man. Add your comments in and we'll happily answer them. So let's get straight into it, man. A lot of fights to talk about this weekend. But first of all, not something that we normally discuss here, but I didn't know if you've seen, I know you're away in York, but I'm not sure if you saw the fallout with all of this Canelo and Triple G free, the pay-per-view buys, Eddie Hearn and Leonard Ellerbe going at it, Eddie Hearn and Dan Rafael going at it. That really seemed to be trending on boxing Twitter last night, considering all the fights that we've got this weekend. Big up my man Harvey in the building. But did you see that?
Yeah, I've been on top of it. I mean, the thing about the modern world and the internet is that you could be millions of miles away from where the actual event takes place, but it's a small world on the internet. And so, yeah, I have been picking up everything. And my first thoughts were, instead of Triple G and Canelo, why don't they just go straight for Eddie Hearn versus
Leonard Ellerbe?
No, that would do great pay-per-view sales, probably more than Triple G versus Canelo did.
Big up my guys here, Jerry in the building, DS, I see you, bro. Big up Francisco as well. Great to have all of you guys here, man. Listen, that was more entertaining than the fight for me.
Definitely.
The whole back and forth, and do you know what I mean? And listen, for however many reported buys there were, even if it was, I don't think it is 500,000, which was originally reported, but even if it was for Canelo, I mean, for Canelo, that's not great for him. But normally, like in terms of a normal standard pay-per-view, that's actually very good. So I don't know what they're reported, but I think it was up to 1 million maybe around the world. But listen, I'm not really too fussed about that, to be honest, man. Looking forward to the fight.
I mean, let's be honest, man. I mean, we said it, didn't we? When this fight was announced, we said that it carried very little interest for me. It was only in the days leading up to the fight. And there wasn't much going on. I mean, don't forget as well, we've come off the back of the Queen dying, and there was nothing that previous weekend. So that might have helped the pay-per-view sales, certainly in this country anyway, in Britain. The fact that there was nothing the week before. But then also, as I also alluded to on your show last week, there's a lot of people going to be streaming that, because I, for one, I decided early that I'm not paying extra money to watch that fight. No way. On a point of principle. And I'm sure a lot of people felt the same way. Yeah. So number one, you're not excited about the fight. Number two, they're charging extra to watch the fight on top of your DAZN subscription. And I know it was the same in America. They did that. So it's not hard to understand why the pay-per-view figures dipped. But then, as you said, Daryl, quite rightly, yes, they may have dipped. But then there's a school of thought for saying that it still generated a lot more money than a lot of the other fights would do. You know what I mean? So, but there's no doubt, man, that fight did not have anywhere near the same level of appeal as the first two fights did.
No. Shout out to Ian Hamilton and K22 in here. I see you, man. Thank you for joining. Jerry says here, do you feel like the build-up for this fight went under the radar?
I think it was a hard sell. I mean, okay, you've got Canelo. He's always going to sell, even if it's at a level below what he sold previously. But then Triple G's not fought in a long time. He had that fight against Murata, and whilst it was a come from behind win, he didn't overly impress, did he? It wasn't a highlight reel performance. So
No.
to me, it's very understandable. I mean, Triple G's 40, and it showed on the night, man. He's just not got it anymore. You know what I mean? And then you have to understand as well that, certainly in my opinion, Canelo didn't look much better. I mean, he well won the fight, as I said on your show last week, but did he impress? Hell no.
No.
And that was part of the fallout from the whole thing, wasn't it? A lot of people were very underwhelmed by it. Apart from Eddie Hearn, most people I've seen talk about the fight said, look, man, the fight was a bit of a dud, and I would have to agree.
Big up Michael Maxwell in the building. I see you, man. Yeah, just wanted your thoughts on that. Anyway, before we touch on the topics today, I saw some breaking news. I don't think it's official yet, but I think it's very close to being made official. And that is Denzel Bentley, who was in action over the weekend, reportedly agreeing to fight Janibek for the WBO middleweight belt. What's your thoughts on if that's true, man? Because that's a dangerous mission, that is, man. It is, and I hope he's getting paid for that. I hope he's getting paid well for that sort of fight, man. But I mean, could you blame him for grasping that opportunity if it is true?
No, I mean, listen, he's a fighter. And fighters are a different breed, aren't they? So he will think he can win. I mean, people who know boxing will know straight away that that is a really hard fight for Denzel. But credit to him, man. If he genuinely feels he can win and he's prepared to take on that opportunity, then we need more of those types of guys. I mean, let's hope he doesn't end up like the poor British lad who fought him before.
Well, yeah.
You must have seen that fight. That was he'll do better than that. He'll do better than that. What's the guy's name? He's from Essex, isn't he?
Yeah. Someone in the comments will remind me. Memory always goes on these streams, man. But
I watched that fight live and he got torn to shreds, man. I actually felt sorry for him. I'm pretty sure that Denzel Bentley will do a lot better than that. But nevertheless, it's a hard task, man. I would say Janibek is one of the better fighters out there. Definitely one of the best at middleweight. He's been avoided by a lot of the top guys. And that is no easy task by any stretch of the imagination.
No.
You know what I mean? So, yeah.
We also saw this weekend Paul Butler agree in terms of now at Inoue go down happening at the end of the year. I mean, can you blame Danny Dignan?
Danny Dignan.
Yeah. Big up, Jerry. Sorry.
Yeah, I watched that fight, man, and he got shredded. You know what I mean? He was completely outclassed. But then again, I would fancy Denzel Bentley strongly against Danny Dignan if they fought. So, it's not a suitable comparison, I don't think. But nevertheless, it's still way more difficult than even anyone he's fought in his career. And I would include Felix Cash, who, let's face it, man, he pretty much destroyed Denzel, didn't he?
Well, he's got a title shot before Felix Cash.
Yeah, we see this is how the cookie crumbles in boxing. Maybe Felix Cash was offered that fight and didn't fancy it for whatever reason. I say maybe, I don't know. I know he's had some issues outside the ring recently, hasn't he, Felix Cash? So maybe he feels he's not ready for a challenge of that magnitude. Whereas Bentley's coming off a really good win. I saw the fight he had with Marcus Morrison. It was a good little entertaining scrap, but he got him out of there. He looked good. So maybe the confidence levels are high. You're going to get well paid. It's a title opportunity that you probably thought, they're not going to come along too often. Let me just jump on the back of this and see how it goes. So you got to give him credit.
Beat my boy Linus Adofia as well. Keeps his British belt regardless of the situation. So I guess it's a, grasp the opportunity sort of thing. Paul Butler here, Ian Hamilton says he's officially signed his death certificate, book his funeral. Another person just...
That's a bit unfair, man. I mean, let's face it, that he's even got a harder task than Denzel has.
Yeah.
But then Paul Butler, it could be argued, doesn't have really that much wiggle room, does he? He's in the latter stages of his career. He's got this shot. You might as well take it, because where else is he going to go? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whereas Denzel, he has wiggle room. But he's been offered an opportunity. See, that's the thing, not many people are going to want to fight Janibek. So Denzel was one of the few people that raised his hand, isn't it? Let's be honest. That's why he's got the shot.
Well, Andrade ducked him. Let's be real.
Oh
Demetrius
yeah,
Andrade
openly.
ducked him.
Yeah, yeah.
Ducked him.
I mean, when I say openly, he never said, "Oh, I'm ducking him," but he pretty much did everything but say that. You know what I mean? It's clear he didn't want that fight.
Yeah.
It's ironic, isn't it? Coming from a man who claims that he's been ducked by Triple G, by Charlo, and by Canelo. Now he's ducking himself.
Yep.
And we did say, didn't we? We said many times before that ducking is not unique to one particular fighter. A lot of them do it throughout their careers. In fact, most of them do when they get to a certain level. It's just that you got to call out the more flagrant examples, like Canelo, for example. He's made a latter-day career of ducking people. He's the only man in boxing who can say he's not fighting somebody from his own country and get away with it. When I say get away with it from people like Dan Raphael and Eddie Hearn and you know what I mean, and the rest of the machine who just let him ride carte blanche over boxing, man. Ridiculous. You know?
Big up Himanshu in the building. I see you, bro. He says, hello, brothers. Big up. He said Mayweather was the master of ducking. We're going to talk about Mayweather a bit later on, actually. But first of all,
do we have to?
Well, we'll talk about him briefly. But
you're not going to like what I've got to say about him. But anyway, go on.
We'll talk about Joe Joyce and Joyce-Parker taking place this weekend, which is a good fight. However, it is taking place on pay-per-view. Now, I've seen a lot of pushback on this, particularly after last weekend. A lot of unsatisfactory customers there ordering Canelo and Triple G. Then they've got this pay-per-view the week after. Listen, in terms of the fight, it's a very good fight. I'm looking forward to it. But to put it on pay-per-view in this particular climate right now, considering all the pay-per-views that we've got and we've had coming up, we've got Conor Benn and Chris Eubank Jr. on pay-per-view in a couple of weeks. If Fury and AJ happens, that's obviously going to be on pay-per-view. Spence and Crawford happens, that will be on pay-per-view. There's other pay-per-view fights down the line. So, yeah, I mean, this one here, I don't know how this is going to do, but it's a shame that it is on pay-per-view, man, because it is a solid fight. And I don't think the numbers are going to reflect too well when them pay-per-view numbers come out, if they do.
Listen, I don't think it's going to do very well at all. And like I said, I'm sticking to my guns. I won't be buying it this week. I'm going to try and watch the fight. That's different, of course. But I will not be buying that fight. I'm against these pay-per-view. Every time that there's a decent fight out there, it gets labelled pay-per-view. Hell no, I'm not. As you said, we're in a cost of living crisis, man. You know, people have got to prioritise. And with myself, it's not so much that. It's a point of principle. I'm just not doing it. I think that these guys are actually taking the mick out of all of us. You know what I mean? And I'm not. And I wish more people would think like me and not do it. And I think that's what's going to happen. And I would add on that as well, is that I'm hearing strong rumours that the ticket sales are not doing great for that
I was just about to say that.
And your boy Dev was Dev Sani, silky tongue Dev Sani was doing a lot of talking before these fights, saying how many pay-per-views it was going to do, and I think he's in danger of being a little embarrassed this week, man. You know what I mean? Because he did a lot of talking, saying he was confident he was going to do X amount of numbers and outsell this, outsell that. Well, you might have to rein those comments in a little bit if, as expected, the fight does not do that well on pay-per-view. It's still a great fight, though. I mean, don't get me wrong. It's a great fight to watch. Well, it will, but I'm sure it'll be a good fight, but it's a great prospect of a fight. But pay-per-view, nah, man, I'm not feeling that. And I'm sure lots of people up and down the country feel exactly the same way.
Yeah, pay-per-view, not a world title fight. Yeah, I think it's an interim fight, but it's not a world title fight. Probably the number 5, number 6 ranked heavyweights in the division, I'd say, probably around that. 2 top 10 heavyweights for sure. But that don't equal a pay-per-view fight, man.
Hell no. And the promotion for this fight has not been good. And I would go as far as to say as well, I watched some of the press. I don't know if you got a chance to watch some of the press conference today. Let's just put it like this. It was very underwhelming. Both fighters, I mean, it's interesting that the Andy Lee and the other trainer and the other people around spoke better than both the fighters did. You know what I mean? These two guys can't carry a pay-per-view, man. Especially Joe Joyce. He's just got no lyrics. You know what I mean? he's got no game, bro. You know what I mean?
What
He's
about
that
the fight?
things to you know what I mean, get popular with the ladies or whoever it is because he's got no game. He can't talk for ish.
What
You know
about
what I mean?
what about the fight itself, though, man? Because last time we spoke on this, we had different opinions, really. I was actually going for Parker, and you know what? I'm going to stick with that. And you were going
You're
for
going for
Joyce.
Parker, right?
I'm going for Parker, man, because I'll tell you why. And it's been split. I think the closer we've got, it's been more split. I remember when I first said it, people were like, "Right, Daz, you sure, man? Like Parker, nah." Like, but for me, Joe Joyce, I could definitely see him winning, and I can see why he's the favorite.
You've clearly forgotten those horror shows like the one against Junior Farr and Dillian and people like that. But anyway,
I like how Parker's developing under Andy Lee. Tyson Fury in the camp is only going to help Joseph Parker. He looked
really,
very. He got. Yeah, I
really?
think so. I think so. The mentality, like, look, man, say what you want about Fury, but he is the number one ranked heavyweight in the world. And
How's that going to help him? How's that going to help Joseph Parker against Joseph Joyce just because he's been training with Tyson Fury?
I think just having an elite heavyweight in there, you know, in the camp with you every day, alongside Andy Lee, who is a great boxing mind. Former, was he a world champion? Was he champion?
Yeah, he was a middleweight world
Former
champion.
world champion himself.
He's
Yeah, I
also
mean,
trained at Trunk Gym under Emmanuel Stewart, so he knows his stuff. I mean,
he
listen,
knows.
I've been impressed by Andy
I,
Lee.
I think Joyce has got. Let me just say, Joyce as well, man. His defense ain't great. He's going to catch some hands, and it's really just a matter of if Parker's going to be able to survive, which is a big if. If he's going to be able to survive the juggernaut, do you know what I mean?
Let me put it like this, okay? You are right, by the way. He has improved under Andy Lee, and I do get where you're coming from in terms of the confidence and the boost that he's probably going to get working out with someone like Fury. That can only be of an assistance, although I'm not sure how much that translates once you actually get in the ring. But let's analyze the fight of strengths and weaknesses by saying this. What is one of Joseph Parker's biggest weakness? What is?
Digging down and getting dirty.
Digging down again there, and his gas tank is not great, is it? He tends to fade in fights. We've seen that quite a few times. Right? Now, what is Joe Joyce's biggest strength apart from his chin? What is that?
His engine.
Exactly. So if you put that together, so you got one guy, one of his biggest weaknesses is the way he manages fights, insofar as down the stretch, he notoriously gets tired. And you got Joseph Joyce, on the other hand, who down the stretch gets stronger. Then I think you'll see where one of the big problems are going to lie in Joseph Parker trying to win that fight.
The question I've got is, how long is Joe Joyce going to get away with just catching shots, marching forward, taking one to land one? Like, Parker's a former world champion, man.
It could be rooted in his genetics. Have you not? I'm sure you've seen that interview that Joe Joyce. Let me call him Joe. I keep calling him Joe for the simplicity of this podcast. Let me say Joe Joyce. Yeah. Joe Joyce has given several interviews now where he's talked about he's had his bone density measured, and apparently it's 6 times that of a normal human being. Now, that probably means why he's got such a good chin. And don't get me wrong, I don't like the fact that he gets hit cleanly with shots. But you have to say, certainly at this stage in his career, he just eats those shots, bro. Eats them. Eats Daniel Dubois' biggest shots, and Dubois a way bigger puncher than Joe Parker is. And even in his last fight, where he didn't look that impressive before he got him out of there, against Christian Hammer, he ate a couple of clean. They couldn't have been any cleaner. It was like Christian Hammer went up to the heavy bag, or you get those machines in certain venues where the punch. It was like that, where he was basically right in front. The man loaded up, caught him clean, and he did not even blink. So that's what Joseph Parker is up against. Now, it's clear that Joseph Parker has the better skills and the better speed. But as you know, Daryl, this is professional fighting, and that alone is not going to win a fight. And the way I see that fight going is this. I imagine that Joseph Parker, on account of those skills that he's got in terms of speed and stuff like that. Probably racing to a lead. But I imagine Joe Joyce staying with him. And after about 5, 6 rounds, man, I see Joe Joyce taking over. And I think he'll either win a handy points decision or he might be the first man to stop Joyce-Parker. I really do feel that.
Mm. Sandy says here, Parker will get a lot of success working the body. The only time I've ever seen Joe Joyce hurt in the ring was against, who was the American guy? And he hit him with a body shot. And that was the one time Joyce was hurt. It was,
Right.
what was his name, man? Oh, I'm forgetting again. Someone will remind me. But yeah, he hit Joyce to the body and Joyce was visibly hurt in that fight. But he quickly recovered and got rid of him.
See? Yeah.
But yeah, I just for me, don't you think Parker knows about the fact that Joyce has got a great engine and a great chin and that he's going to have to last the distance? You think Andy Lee's not telling him that?
Yeah, it's one thing knowing, but trying to stop him is another matter. How many times have you seen out on the football pitch where you know what a guy's going to do, but trying to stop him is a different matter? Same thing in boxing. You know that a guy's got a big left hook or a big right hand, or about, trying to stop him or whatever. Completely different task to keep him off you for 12 rounds anyway. But I do, it will be a good fight. It will be a good fight. I'm pretty sure about that. One that I'm looking forward to, despite the fact that I've said I refuse to pay pay-per-view for it. It is a very good fight.
Brian Jennings, thank you, Sandy. That was the heavyweight that hurt Joyce.
Yeah. Actually, now you talk about that, I remember that. Yeah,
you remember.
But then what happened?
Yeah, he ran him over.
He ate that. And I just think that Joe Joyce knows that so far this is the biggest challenge he's been presented with after the Dubois fight, obviously. And I just think that he's going to rise to the occasion, man. So will Joyce-Parker. But I do think, man, that the last man standing will be Joe Joyce. I've got no doubt in that. I can't see Parker beating him at all. I really can't.
Oh, well, you're quite strong with that opinion then.
Yeah, I am. Yeah, I just think that. That's why I'm saying it could even be a late stoppage. Because this guy, man, he's just going to keep coming all night. You know what I mean? Yeah. And he's going to be extra motivated. It's not like he's going to take Joe Parker less than seriously, is it? He knows that this is the biggest fight of his life. He knows that Parker is standing in the way of a potential world title shot. Especially with the way Fury carries on, you know what I mean? You never know, he might be up next. That's what they're probably telling him. That if you do a good job on Parker, you could be next for Fury. You know what I mean? So, and I know previously Joe Joyce and Fury have kind of been cordial towards one another, but I've seen certain things in the build up to this fight. Now that sort of Fury's sort of in with Parker, that could lead them to fight. So I think that the motivation levels for both will be high, but I think even more so for Joe Joyce, because he knows that this guy's standing in the way of his title shot dream, and I don't think he's going to let it slip, bro. And I saw them today, and I know that. Listen, I know that size isn't always the be all and end all. I know that, but when they were stood together today, man, there's a big difference, not just in the height, but in the size of the two. Joe Joyce looks physically imposing against Parker. He's looking down at him. He's stuck his chest out. His shoulders are out there. And he was looking at him and saying, yeah, man, food. That's how he was. That seemed to be the body language he was adopting in the face-off that I saw today. Did you not see that?
No, I didn't see all of it. I have to check it after.
Yeah, when they stood up against one another, man, there was a clear, discernible difference. Like I said, not just in the height, but in the bodies of the two men. You know what I mean? Well, on the night, man, I think that Joe Joyce is going to be too much for him.
Go to the comments here. There's been split opinions here with regards to who's going to win. DS had Joyce winning split decision. Sandy says Parker will get a lot of success working the body. Our man Francisco says here Joyce is tough, but I don't think he's that impressive. I'm with Daryl on this one. Parker will outbox him. It's split.
The juggernaut.
He don't look impressive, but he gets the job done.
Well, this is it. This is it, man. I agree with you. He hasn't got silky skills. He doesn't pretend to have silky skills, but he's got that. He's got that thudding type of power. He keeps going all night, and the man could take a shot like very few other people in the division. He might even have the best chin in the division. Name me a guy that's got a better chin than him in that division.
Yes, it's tough, man.
They've all been dropped, aren't they? Even Usyk's been dropped before. So, Fury's been dropped a few times. Same like Joshua. Ruiz has been dropped. They've all been dropped. Parker's been dropped. He got dropped by Dylan White. He got hurt a few times by Anthony Joshua. Spent a lot of time in that fight on the back foot. Fair enough, he says he's a different man now. But then he's talking like he's going to be more aggressive. But in many ways, man, that might play into Joe Joyce's hands.
I think it's going to be interesting how it turns out, man, because for me, the concern for me with Joyce is, and you're right with everything that you say, Joyce is a juggernaut. He will run you over. But the amount of punches he gets hit, Parker, it's easier said than done. But like, Parker can clearly outbox Joyce, man, and he's got the ability to do that. He's got the quickest hands in the division for me. Maybe him or Andy Ruiz. I'd say probably Parker, actually. But Joyce's footwork ain't... His footwork ain't the best, Joe Joyce. Listen, man, did
you not see Joseph Parker against Junior Farr?
Yeah, but I think he's improved under Andy Lee.
Yeah, he has improved, bro. Listen, man, it's all very well and good saying, yeah, he's improved. He's now working out with Andy Lee, this, that, and the other. They even went as far today as saying it could be an easy fight, which I thought was palpable nonsense.
That's an easy fight.
Joe Joyce is not an easy fight for anybody. So they need to get that out of their heads for number one. If they're thinking that this fight is going to be an easy night, then they're deluded, man. You know what I mean? I think they're just saying that to try and get under Joe Joyce's skin a little bit. But listen, man, I've played this fight out in my head a few times. I can't see anything other than what I said to you before, which is, yes, Joe Parker might very well win some of the early rounds and look good, but all the time, the juggernaut will just be chipping away, coming forward. He's got a high punch volume, and he's got those clubbing hands. They don't always look like they're hurting, but they do. You saw that against Daniel Dubois, you know what I mean? His punches tend to swell fighters' faces up. Again, it's that bone density he's got, you know what I mean? Clubbing hands, coming forward non-stop, always making you think, always making you move, always giving you something to worry about. Throws punches in combinations as well. I mean, they're slow, but he's a man that can unload 3, 4, 5 shots. Not a lot of heavyweights do that, if you think about it. You know what I mean? They're one shot at a time merchants.
Yeah.
And like I said, Parker's will has been tested a few times, and it's not always reached the levels that you want. Against AJ, he didn't seem to wholly fancy it, despite all the talking he did before that fight, calling himself Samoan Warrior and all the rest of it. He got hit a few times by AJ, and he was on his bike. Against Dillian, man, when it got down and dirty in there, man, Dillian prevailed. You know what I mean? Even when he fought Andy Ruiz, when he won the title many years ago, Ruiz was robbed in that fight, man. Robbed. And then, let's face it, he got a gift decision against Derek Chisora in that first fight. The man pretty much lost the fight himself. Yes, he won the rematch, definitely. But he lost that first fight. And what was Derek? Derek's a pressure fighter, yeah? And yet Derek was able to, a 40-odd-year-old Derek or whatever it was, a man of many fights and, you know what I mean, a shop-worn Derek Chisora, was able to pretty much beat Parker in that fight. Let's be honest. Derek was robbed in that first fight, man. Let's be honest. Let's keep it 100. He was robbed. So
it's a lot of there's a lot of split opinions here, man. A lot of split opinions. Conrad has got Parker winning, but then you've got K22's got Joyce winning. Listen, man, it's gonna be interesting. It's definitely an intriguing fight, despite it being on pay-per-view. Big up Daniel in the building. He says here, I'm looking forward to seeing Parker get a heart check. Well, he's definitely going to get that. He's going to get a gut check in this fight, for sure. Is how he's going to deal with it, man. And let's not forget, maybe it might not make a difference. Maybe it will, but Joyce is the home fighter. It is a Queensberry show. Will that play a factor? Who knows? But it tends to.
Quite likely it could. And let's just be honest, man. We talk about Joseph Parker having these great skills and that, man. But if you think about it logically, Joe Joyce has achieved more. Even you look at his amateur pedigree, silver medal in the Olympics. That should have been gold, really. No one can tell me watching that fight
Well,
that
Parker is
he
a
was
world champ.
on the Yoko on that night. You know what I mean?
Parker is a former world champ.
Yeah, he is. But like I said, did he really win that fight against Ruiz? I don't think he did. It was in New Zealand. It was at a time when he was hot and he had a certain level of the machine behind him. And I watched that. I remember getting up early and watching that fight, man. Ruiz was robbed.
Mm.
Clear as day, in my view. He was robbed that night. You know?
Rematch
And
clause.
how many times since that time has Joyce-Parker really impressed you as a fighter? I remember me and you talking about this several times before on your show. How many times he really looked good?
He ain't really impressed me loads.
No.
He impressed me last time out, but then you got to take it into context.
Exactly. When he beat Derek the second time, he did look a lot better. But, you know, come on, man. That is a shot-worn Derek Chisora he's beating. That is, you can't. Derek didn't even want to go in the ring with Joe Joyce. Remember when they were trying to make that fight?
Yeah, he didn't want it.
It's noticeable that Derek War Chisora, as he likes to go by the name, he didn't seem to want it with Joe Joyce. Talking about the money and this and that, which to me was just a code word for saying I don't really fancy that fight. But hell, if I've got to fight him, then you've got to pay me way over the, what I'm worth to get me in the ring with him.
So, your final prediction on this one, you've got Joyce, late or points?
I'm going to be very assertive. I've got Joyce by a wide point. I could see it ending up like Joyce-Parker just making it to the final bell, just coming under pressure in those from rounds 9, 10, 11, and 12, just getting swamped by punches. And if he does make it out of the 12, it will be him hanging on. One of them where you're thinking, is Andy Lee going to throw in the towel or rescue him from the punishment he's taking? Or I can just see him getting stopped late, just crumbling under the pressure. But I'm definitely going for a Joe Joyce win. But like you said, Daryl, I think early on, I do think that Joyce-Parker, with his superior athleticism, namely his speed of hand and speed of foot, will ensure that he does win some rounds. It'll be interesting to see how Joe Joyce starts. Well, I think we all know how he's going to start. It's going to be quite.
It'll take some hands, man. That's what's going to start.
The engine a while, the juggernaut engine to crank up. But if you ever been on the motorway, Daryl, you know what I mean? Sometimes you see those big juggernaut, you can see them in your rear mirror. And you just see them, right? And then, lo and behold, they're up alongside you. You think, right, how did that happen? And you know why that happens, Daryl? Because those juggernauts have got some powerful engines in them, man. And over a long stretch, they do have speed. So, and that's what's going to happen in this fight, man.
Well, you've made a convincing argument for sure. But I'm going to stick with my original pick. I'm going to go with Joyce-Parker winning this. Decision win, a close decision win. Could be controversial, could be split. But I just think that, yeah, he will be hanging on towards the end. But Joe Joyce hasn't impressed me either, man. Like, he ain't, I mean, look, it was a good win over Dubois. I'm not going to take that away from him. But in terms of like the last fight, the amount of times I see him catching hands, I'm just like, look, man, it's going to catch up to you one day when you step up the levels. And I think Parker is a bit of a step up. He's a former world champ. He's motivated. He's hungry. He's got Andy Lee in the corner. He's got Fury there in his ear. Do you know what I mean? I just think maybe it could be him. This could be his standout performance, man. But it's close. I admit you've been convincing with your argument on Joe Joyce. And I can see why he's the favorite. But I guess I'm just going to stick with Parker, man. I'm going to say Parker split decision.
Fair enough. I like your confidence. You know what I would say as well, if you're one of those that like Parker in this fight, you'll be looking to the fact that, and it is a fact, that Joe Joyce is what, like 37 years old now?
Turned 37, yeah.
Yeah, so, you know what I mean, at some point in time, father time is going to kick in, even with Joe Joyce. So they'll be hoping it could be now.
Yeah.
But then you look at his fights, man, and the fact that he's not been pro that long. And he's not really had any real hard fights. Yes, he's been hit a few times, but he's not had any hard fights, has he? No one's really tested him. The closest he's come to being tested was Daniel Dubois. But Daniel Dubois would be, again, he's another one. He's going to be a hard night for anyone in that division, I would have thought. So And a lot of people at that time were picking against Joe Joyce, weren't they? Because Daniel Dubois was seen as that next guy.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? And you saw what he did to him, man. In the end, he saw
Yeah.
what he did to him, and I think it's going to be a similar thing, man, on Saturday. But we'll
We'll
see.
see.
We'll
Yeah,
see.
looking forward to that, man. It is on pay-per-view, so we'll be interested to see how that does. But I'll be tuning in somehow. Let's just say that. I'm
Somehow,
sure you
yeah,
will as well.
yeah,
Um, we got one of the future pound for pound stars headlining this weekend. Shakur Stevenson against Robson-Concecaio. Stevenson coming off a career best win over your boy Oscar Valdez. Robson-Concecaio arguably beat Valdez. I mean, a lot of people
Not
have
arguably, he did. He did. Man.
but yeah, I
That
mean, this is a good
was one of
event.
the. That was one of the worst because that was a double robbery when you think about it. Wasn't it? I felt so sorry for Concecaio because not only did he have to fight a guy that was a convicted drugs cheat when he shouldn't even have been in the ring in the first place, he beat the guy on the night and got jobbed again. I mean, yes, it could be argued that Valdez won some of the rounds down the stretch and made it close. But for me, I thought Concecaio was a clear winner of that fight. And he should have got the decision. And like I said, I thought it was a double whammy because Valdez had failed a drugs test and should not have been allowed to fight in the first place. So if you're Concecaio, you're entitled to feel really badly treated. And I do think that this is going to be a difficult fight for Stevenson, man. I mean, Concecaio is no mug. He's a very good fighter, throws a lot of punches. He's a former Olympic gold medalist, something that even Shakur Stevenson couldn't achieve. And he will be seeing this as his last chance opportunity, won't he?
I'm glad he's got another opportunity. I'm glad
Yeah,
he's got.
he's going to be way up for this, man. And he will be hoping against hope that Stevenson's kind of looking past him a little bit because everyone's touting Shakur Stevenson, including myself, as a future pound for pound star. He's certainly one of the best fighters in the world today. But this is the kind of fight, man, that if he's not 100% focused and thinks he's just going to go in there and beat Concecaio up just like that without having to dig down deep, it could be a hard night for him. And I've seen Shakur. I mean, listen, Shakur's a very ebullient, very confident young man, and he's saying, I'm going to beat the shit out of you and this and that. But listen, man, Concecaio is no. If he can get Concecaio out of there, this is Shakur Stevenson. If he could get Concecaio out of there or, beat him badly, I'll be massively impressed.
I think about the Nakatila fight where, it left a lot to be desired, that fight, where we expected a bit more. He was a clear-cut winner. And that win does look better now, by the way. But I remember that particular fight. It left a lot to be desired. And this could be something that could go down that way. He might not look as impressive as he did against Oscar Valdez, against somebody as good as Robson-Concecaio, man. I think he'll get the win, but I think, like you, this is a potential banana skin and one to definitely keep an eye on. Concecaio will feel robbed from that Valdez fight. Like you said, he's grasping the opportunity again. He's got another big payday going up against a talented young fighter like Shakur Stevenson. So this is better than it's been publicized for sure. It hasn't had the support that it deserves.
Concecaio is no mug, trust me. I watched a lot of his fights. I remember watching him as an amateur when he won the gold medal in Rio. Very good fighter, man. And skillful, throws a lot of punches. Not the biggest puncher in the world, which is probably why Shakur feels very confident. But trust me, this ain't no joke. Shakur's got to go in there, be professional, and take care of business. And this guy will present problems. And the one thing I've noticed about Concecaio is he's sharp and he throws a lot of punches, especially early on. He did tie down the stretch against Valdez, but then that's because he was dominating the early rounds. I thought he won the fight, but at least a couple of rounds that night. But hey, man, we all know what went down. We all know the politics that went on in that fight. So he's going to see this as another opportunity to right that wrong. He's going to also, given his age, I think he's into his 30s now. There are not going to be too many more opportunities. So he's got to go in there and let it all hang out. Now, if he can do that, because listen, man, Shakur's a bag of tricks. Southpaw, one of the best defensive fighters in the world, maybe even the best defensive fighter in the world at the moment. And he's also showing a bit more power as he gets older as well, Shakur Stevenson. He's hitting
Yeah.
with a bit more authority as he
Getting his
gets.
man strength.
Yeah, he's getting his man strength. He's also getting his what I call the man confidence, the confidence of a man who knows he's on top of his game. And a man like that is hard to beat. So, two very good fighters. One destined for great things. Another one still very good. And it has to be taken seriously. And if he can do that, Shakur Stevenson, I think he will get a unanimous decision win. But like I said, it could be Concecaio is the first one to really take some rounds off him. Because I've not really seen too many people do that, you know. I mean, he's lost the odd round here and there when he kind of coasted or taken a round off.
He's
but
not lost any rounds.
When he's on it, it's very hard to do. So I'm really looking forward to this fight, man. I'm really looking forward to seeing how it goes. I know some people may not be seeing it in the same light as I am, but I'm really looking forward to this one as much as I am Parker versus Joyce. It's a different type of fight, but I'm looking forward to it nonetheless.
Just to confirm, Jerry, that this fight will be on Sky. It'll be on in the early hours of the morning on Sky Sports. So yeah, they do broadcast it live, the Top Rank fight. So yeah, that will be on.
It's in Newark, isn't it?
Yeah. So it'll probably start a bit earlier then. Yeah,
it will. If it's Eastern time, it'll start about 2:00ish, which is a lot better for me, man. Sometimes, even the other night, when I watch that Canelo fight, man, you know, I mean, they're not getting the ring till 3:30 in the morning, man. You know,
and you've got the national anthems and all that.
Man, yeah. And then we had a fight, man, which, let's face it, was a night to forget. Despite what Eddie Hearn's trying to tell people, it wasn't a very good night.
Final prediction for Stevenson-Concecaio.
I'm inclined to go Shakur Stevenson by a wide unanimous points decision, but he will lose some rounds in this fight because Concecaio is a good fighter. And I think if he goes out there with the right attitude, which I believe he will have some success early, but not enough to beat Shakur Stevenson, who in my view is one of the best fighters in the world. I think he's the best defensive fighter in the world. He's on his way to being one of the very best top 3 fighters in the world. It's just how he beats guys. Some people are saying he's not the most exciting. I don't necessarily agree with that. But once he starts to add more power to his game, I think, and he starts stopping people on a regular basis, then yeah, he will be that guy.
I tend to agree with Francisco's prediction here, Stevenson on points and how the fight pans out. But what I will say about Shakur Stevenson is, I'm not just saying this now, I said this before. I think out of all the young talented stars that they've got in America right now, he is the one for me that is he has the highest ceiling for me. I've said that numerous times. I'll say it again today. For me, the kid's just got everything, man. And now he's developing his man strength and getting better. Listen, I'm not saying it. I'm not saying he's Floyd. I'm not saying he's Mayweather, but I'm just saying he resembles a lot about him that I like in terms of how he moves in the ring and just, you know, how dominant he is over his opponents. Shakur Stevenson is that dude, man. I think he is gonna. I can't see a lot stopping him. And the thing that I like about
I see where you're coming from. Yeah, because like Floyd, a lot of people look at him and think, oh, he ain't got much power. He relies on the jab a lot. Yes, both those things may be true. However, he's got very high ring IQ. He's got great defense. And I've noticed that when fighters fight him, because he's so sharp and he's so good, they tend to become a bit tentative. You saw that with Valdez, didn't you? Before the fight, Valdez was saying, I'm going to go in there, I'm going to pressure him, and he's going to crack under the pressure. Well, once Stevenson and they squared up and Stevenson started to assert himself on him, you could see that Valdez didn't know what to do. He was tentative and he got dropped and he just looked off. And I'm wondering if Stevenson can do that to Concecaio as well.
Yeah.
Just make him second guess himself. It's that timing, that split second timing that will overcome speed. It will overcome volume punching. Knowing when to throw your punches, when to make a man miss and then make him pay. That could slow your opponent down a lot, man. Because you got him thinking and second guessing himself.
He beat up on Jamel Herring as well, man.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Totally outclassed.
this is the thing. I like him. I like Haney because no, they're good, but they're literally like they're on smoke. They want to fight everyone, man, and that's just what I like to see. I generally think that them two in particular will fight anyone. Those
You know
two.
why that is?
That's
Because
why I like them.
they've got this confidence in themselves that comes from they're naturally confident anyway, and they just don't believe they can be beaten. And you see that with the way they are in the ring. And it's interesting with those two as well, is that if you think about them, neither of them two are the biggest punchers, sorry, but they still manage to outclass their opponents.
Mhm.
So they must be such good boxers that even guys that fancy themselves as being big punchers and volume punchers can't seem to get their shots off.
Got some breaking news here. I'm not sure how true it is, but I trust K22. He's saying here he's heard it, so it's not 100%. But he's saying he's hearing that Dylan White has signed a deal with Hearn and Matchroom, probably going to fight Chisora for the third time. Got his hands over his face there. I'm guessing it wouldn't be more than a one-fight deal anyway, with White and Matchroom. But yeah, I don't know what to feel about it. I don't really know.
You know what? For both those two, that fight actually does make sense. It's not a fight that
Do
immediately.
you want to see that again? Like,
Yeah, I was going to say it's not a fight that would immediately excite people, but if it comes at a time when there's not much else on, and by the time Sky, and they're very good at this type of thing, start hyping the fight up, showing some of their previous fights, which, let's face it, both of those fights are really good fights. And once the hype machine gets to work,
the face-off
and
will be entertaining.
yeah, all of a sudden, it's a bit like the Triple G and Canelo we was talking about. All of a sudden, you know, I mean, you start thinking, yeah, you know what? Why not? You know what I mean? Again, it'll probably be a pay-per-view, one that I won't pay for. But yeah, I can see that fight happening because if you're Dillian and Chisora, that fight makes sense, doesn't it? Because both fights were disputed. The first fight,
not the second fight.
yeah, sorry, yeah, the first fight was disputed. It could have gone either way. I had Dillian just. A lot of people had Chisora winning, and I wouldn't have had no real complaints if it had gone Derek's way. The second fight, even that one, up until the knockout, I thought Derek was winning that fight. So he will be thinking, especially knowing how someone like Derek feels, he'll be thinking that he can beat Dillian. Especially, you think about Dillian's last couple of fights, man, he's not looked good at all. Against Fury, he looked awful, actually. At least Chisora's coming off the back of a winning, you know what I mean, winning record, so to speak. Even though I thought he was fortunate against Pulev, because I didn't think he won that fight, to be honest. But then, yeah.
The AJ fight's on the horizon as well. Should the Fury fight not get signed? And let's update on that. You know, there's still, I saw an interview of Eddie Hearn on that, and it appears that there were some contract disputes, and it hasn't been signed yet, but they're confident they could still get it done. But where have we heard all this before, man? You thought it was bread and butter when the contract was sent over. So yeah, not all done yet. That Fury and AJ fight.
At the risk of sounding like a low-budget Nostradamus, I did say on your show last week that although people are talking like the fight is done and terms have been agreed, I did say to you that until those two get in the ring and actually, you know what I mean, or until I see them sign the contract for the fight, I don't think it's going to happen. And I'm feeling even more that way now. The longer this goes on without an announcement being made, the more it's less likely that they will fight.
Diaz said here he leans towards Chisora if they do fight for a third time. He also says here Shane Fury also said on IFL that he sees Fury fighting Char, then Usyk, and Char came out on his social media saying that he's ready for December the 3rd. It was almost
I'm sure he is. I'm sure Char is, because he's thinking December the 3rd, that's a nice little payday for me, because he knows he's not going to beat Fury. He knows that as well as we do. Got no chance. You know what? Listen, Shane Fury said it, and he would know. I think that's probably a lot more logical than that AJ fight's not going to happen, bro. You know, sometimes in life, something's too
true. Starting to think it's not going to happen now.
It's not going to happen. even this week, man, there's been nothing. I mean, last week Frank Warren was using the Queen as an excuse.
Yeah, well, what
And
about
then
this week?
not
You know what I
announcing
mean?
anything. Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. That was clearly an excuse because, the funeral for the Queen, as we all know, was on Monday. There's been nothing since. In fact, it's gone radio silent, hasn't it? You
Yeah,
know what I mean?
up until today, and it ain't been positive.
And if you look at Eddie Hearn's body language, I said this on your show last week. He is the one man in this, man, that you could see that he's not 100% on it.
Nah, he's
He's
not
yeah,
coming.
you could see that behind the scenes, he's probably telling AJ, look, I don't think that's the best idea. By all means, fight Fury, but not next. That's probably what he's saying to AJ.
If White has signed that deal with Matchroom as well, if that is true, then they could fast track that for December.
Yeah.
They could do. So let's see how this develops, man. Sticking with Matchroom, there is another showdown this weekend. It is Hughes against Galahad, Maxi Hughes and Kid Galahad. Is this Kid Galahad's first fight since he got starched by?
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
And he's jumping up in weight, right? He's jumping up a couple of weights to fight Maxi Hughes. Is this a potential banana skin for him?
Yeah, it is. Because Maxi Hughes is on a good run of form.
Yeah.
And if you're going to fight someone like Kid Galahad and your Maxi Hughes, this is the the best time to fight him after he's coming off a devastating loss like that. So yeah, man, that could be an interesting. I think that's on Friday. That one, isn't it? I'll be watching that.
That's on Saturday, isn't it? I mean, Lee Wood and Maurizio Lara was the main event for that one, but unfortunately, it got there was an injury that ruled that fight out.
Oh, okay.
Headlining. Terry Harper's back on the show. But this one here, it's
That'll
a bit
be
of
a good fight actually. Terry Harper versus Hannah Rankin.
Hannah Rankin, yeah.
He's going up in weight. Hannah Rankin, from what I hear, in that she's a decent puncher at the weight, strong. She looks strong at that weight actually. So that's not going to be an easy night's work for Terry Harper. So that's a good little card.
Yeah. So it's a shame that Lara and Wood is not happening, but the show's got to go on. Like, people still got to get paid. People still making weight. So good to see Matchroom are keeping this show on. Just your quick one here on the main event for this one.
Those sentiments that you've expressed there, that Robert Smith didn't have that in mind a couple of weeks ago when he shamefully canceled that fight. You know what I mean? With Clarissa Shields and Savannah Marshall. But yeah, listen, it's a good weekend for boxing, isn't it? Let's be honest, man. It's a good weekend, man. You know what I mean?
Do you had to bounce back here? Or like, what do you reckon?
I guess you'd have to go with Kid Galahad for his better resume in terms of what he's achieved. But I wouldn't write Maxi Hughes out at all. On a good run of form, and he's the naturally bigger man, and he'll be feeling he can win. Yeah.
See how that goes, man. Last one to round off here, just a comment from Jerry. He says here the undercard of Ben Eubank has been announced. Yeah, I saw that earlier. Not sure if you saw it. Who's on the undercard? I can't remember. Like,
probably some YouTubers knowing Chris Eubank. Probably Deji and all them, man, on.
It didn't stand up. Shannon Courtney was on there. Yeah, I mean, don't make me get it up, man. I don't think it was that. Like, you know what I mean? I don't think it was like a standout undercard, but
yeah, I was going to say, no disrespect, but if you're talking about Shannon Courtney, that would suggest that the undercard isn't stellar, shall we say?
Let's get it up here. I've got it here, so you can see while we're here. Do you know what I mean? Let's get this undercard up. See what you think about it. Can you see?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just meh to me. I mean, I mean, your fire's back in the ring.
To be fair, there are some good fighters on the card. I mean, I don't know about the competitive nature of the fights, but looking at the Yak fight, excellent fighter. Felix Cash, excellent fighter.
Lyndon Arthur.
Eubank. What's his name? Eubank.
That's Harlan Eubank.
Harlan Eubank, yeah. Yeah. So there's a few fights there. Ellie Scotney's half decent. You know what I mean? So yeah, man. I mean, listen, that is a decent card, to be fair.
Yeah.
It's just if those fights are going to be competitive, because you know,
Yeah.
are they going to be competitive? But yeah,
Yeah.
decent names. How competitive the fights will be is another matter.
Got a question here from Jack Hill. Big up, Jack. He says here, off topic, but what fight would you love to see between two fighters you like or rate highly? I know Laurie's will be Ryan Garcia versus Chris Colbert at a catch weight.
Listen, Ryan Garcia would stomp Chris Colbert, man. You know what I mean? I've not got much time for either of them, but I think it's clear to see that Ryan Garcia, his ceiling is way above that of Chris Colbert. I mean, Chris Colbert embarrassed himself last time with the way he fought. When he lost that fight, he was literally running away in it, and that was bad in itself. But when you've been doing the amount of talking that he's been doing, to resort to that, he lost a lot of respect, not just from me, not just from the fans, but also it would appear from the fighters themselves. A lot of them have been clowning on him, man, coming out on social media and calling him a runner and all the rest of it, no heart. And that kind of thing can stay with you, man. You know what I mean? And then you're there calling out Gary Russell Jr. when you know that the man's got 1 foot in retirement. He's just come off of major surgery. That was classless. And that was totally in keeping with the kind of person that Chris Colbert is. He's an absolute arsehole. He really is, man. I mean, there's a few of them around at the moment. But he is really one of those guys. Proper arsehole. Ryan Garcia, I do see a little bit more maturity in him. Still got a long way to go to win people like me over. But at least his career's up and running. We're supposed to be seeing him and Tank in the ring later this year. That's another, will it happen, won't it? Probably won't. Who knows? It may happen. But at least his career is live, isn't it? Whereas Chris Colbert, what is he doing? Where is he going? Saw him the other day as well. You could see he was clearly out of shape. Puffy face, body looked round. You know what I mean? Doing all this, talking, calling out Gary Russell Jr., which I thought was pathetic. It just goes to show, man, that his head ain't right. You know what I mean? Probably in boxing for all the wrong reasons, bro. And he's been exposed, isn't he? That's what it is. At least Ryan Garcia is showing a level of ambition. I don't think that him calling out Tank is a great idea for his long-term career prospects, to be honest, because I think he'll get knocked out cold. But he seems to genuinely want to fight. So I guess you've got to give him credit for that. And he is a talent. And his talent level is way above that of Chris Colbert's, let's be honest.
Question here from K22. He says here, if Usyk ends up facing Wilder and Fury beats them both whilst becoming undisputed, where would you rank Fury all time?
I guess you'd have to put him down certainly as one of the modern day greats. I'm not sure if Fury fights enough though to be an all-time great, man. You know what I mean? These on-off episodes don't do well for his resume as far as I'm concerned. I mean, yes, he's unbeaten. Yes, he's been, you know what I mean, multiple world champion, man, but he's had long spells of inactivity and he's fought the same guy 3 times. And the slight problem I have with the Wilder thing is that, let's be honest, man, when Wilder had the belts, a lot of people out there who people would say they know a lot about boxing, yeah, let's leave it like that. A lot of them were saying that Wilder wasn't very good. In fact, some of them were saying he's one of the worst heavyweight champions of all time. And then isn't it funny that when Fury beats him, all of a sudden people are saying, oh, that win over Wilder proves that Fury's one of the greatest of all time. I don't quite get that, do you? I don't know. Someone make that make
sense. In his backyard, though. That was, you know, weren't good to watch.
Yeah, that was a good win, even though it was one of the worst title fights I've ever seen. Yeah, I'll give him credit for that. He was the first man to really do that. Not the first man to beat Klitschko. See, that's the other thing as well. I actually saw someone the other day say that he was the first man to beat Klitschko. No, he weren't. Klitschko was coming off a long unbeaten run, but he wasn't the first one to beat Klitschko. A lot of people seem to have got that twisted. But yeah, so with Fury, what I'm saying, listen, man, to me, you would have to put him as number 1 in the heavyweight division right now. Yeah. But he's far from unbeatable, man. You know what I mean?
He beats Usyk as well. if he beats Usyk, it's a big win.
Yeah, that is a big win. But he's got to do it first, man. And he doesn't seem to really be embracing that fight the way I thought he might be. Is that fair to say?
Well, I kind of backed him on this one, man, because I was saying that like he was calling. Maybe he anticipated or knew that Usyk, but I'll give him the benefit of the doubt and say that it seemed to me that he generally wanted that fight with Usyk this year. I don't think he's afraid of him. I don't think any of that. I don't know, man, but like,
It's not a matter of being
was the one that said Usyk was the one that said he don't want to fight this year.
Yeah, but Usyk has clearly said he wants to fight Fury. He said, and listen, we do have to give him a little bit of slack here. He said it's been a difficult year for him. He's had these fights with Joshua. He said he wants a little break. There's serious things going on in his country.
Yeah, but why should Fury wait?
I'm not saying that Fury should wait, but what I'm saying is Fury seemed to be calling out Usyk after Usyk had already said that he's not fighting for the rest of the year. You know what I mean? So, listen, man, I think Shane Fury, his brother's probably got it right there. It'll be someone like Manuel Char and maybe Usyk in the new year. So I guess if we have to wait until the new year, then we might as well wait. Because I don't think it's going to be Joshua. In fact,
man, Diaz here, he agrees with you. He says here, Fury wanted to fight this year because he knew Usyk weren't fighting again this year. Reverse psychology.
Something we see a lot in boxing, you know what I mean? When a guy's locked into another fight, then fighter C will call out fighter A saying, yeah, let's do it, knowing that, you know what I mean? It's not fooling anyone. Well, it'll fool some people and the people who want to be fooled, but it's not fooling me or you or anybody who really knows how this sport works. But listen, man, okay, we're going to go the long way around to Usyk, but as long as we get there eventually, hopefully in the early part of next year, then I'll take that. I'm sure you would as well.
Last one before we go here. We need to touch on it quickly. Floyd Mayweather back in action this weekend. I say back in action, but it is really just a showcase, really. I'm not sure who the fighter is, but it's taking place in Japan. Mayweather has been making a few headlines this week, literally twerking for Conor McGregor, begging him to have another fight. And then McGregor kind of shamed him, man. Was just like, nah, I'm not interested in you, bro. Like, that's embarrassing, man. That was like, let me just get that out of the way. But like, he is in action this weekend, and he is going to be fighting KSI's brother. I don't know how 100% that is, but I think that might be happening. But I'll be honest with you, that was embarrassing, the whole Conor McGregor thing this week. It was embarrassing, man.
I have not paid any attention to. You know what it is with Floyd? It's got so bad with Floyd now that if I'm going through my phone and something comes up with Mayweather in it, I tend to just scroll past it. That's how much I'm getting sick of this guy. The fact that, because I just know it's going to be some bullshit. I actually scroll past anything to do with his name. Now, how sad is that, really, that I'm having to do something like that? The guy is just, he is just like that pain in the rear end, man, that won't go away. You know what I mean? He's just annoying, man, to the point where I really reach for the repellent, bro. You know what I mean? Whenever anything to do with that guy's name is mentioned, I'll just scroll past it, whether it's on Twitter, YouTube, anything like that. I will just immediately, as soon as his name comes up, boom.
Yeah, but how sad is that, considering how great of a career he's had?
Yeah, because he's just leeching off the game, bro. That's exactly what he's doing. He's leeching off this game. Unashamedly. He's got no shame in doing it. And then you've got, what's so annoying as well is that there's actually people out there that co-sign that shit. You know what I mean? Unfortunately, man, the human nature is such that sycophancy is very real. You'll just get these people, man, that will just, I mean, somebody told, I tried not to watch it, but somebody told me about some video they saw, Twitter, where he was in some high-end shop, it was Louis Vuitton or something like that, and he got one of his aides or personal assistants
count the money,
out his money before. I mean, that sums him up. So he obviously thought that was worthy of him filming and putting out on Twitter. I didn't watch it. Somebody told me about it. I just said, I'm not watching it. Gave somebody his money to count. That's him portraying his personality to the world. You know what I mean? I've just got and it's so sad for me in a way because this was a guy that, in terms of his boxing ability, I absolutely loved him. You know what I mean? I used to love his personality, looking forward to his fights, watching his fights. I was riding hard for that guy, even when people were saying he was boring and he was ducking, and I would always be in that first line of defense. No, man. And to see the way he's conducted himself in recent times, it's just so sad for me. But it's also shocking and embarrassing that to me, he's fallen to that level. Or those, I wouldn't say level, those depths. You know what I mean? It's just...
Some will say, are you being a bit harsh considering that he's not hurting anyone by having these exhibition fights? I mean, loads of other people.
Yeah, I would say he's hurting. He's hurting boxing because he's just leeching off the sport.
Yeah, but it's not just him, is it? That's doing
it's not like he's getting in the ring and fighting anyone, is it? He's having these fights. He's just trying to milk money. You know what I mean? 1 second, Daryl. 1 second.
Yeah. Mohammed Zishan says here, Mayweather versus Laurie confirmed for February the 11th in Dubai. Oh, man. Yeah, listen. Did you see that comment there? You and Mayweather, February the 11th in Dubai? I don't know what you think about that one. But...
Give me the money first. I still won't have nothing to do with him, though. No, on a serious note, man, I really do feel quite strongly about Mayweather. I just think it's got past the stage where we should be laughing and joking, and boxing fans should just turn their back on this guy and just send him a message once and for all that we don't entertain his BS. Like I said, it's not so much he's doing an exhibition. He's trying to leech off the boxing public and the public in general. He's just trying to find a way, to keep his name relevant. I don't even think it's all about the money with him, you know, Darryl.
Yeah,
I think it's more about the clout. He's just finding a way to keep himself relevant. He wants people to talk about him. If he had any real good intentions about boxing, he manages, or supposedly manages, one of the greatest talents in boxing at the time, in Gervonta Davis. Yet he does nothing positive for Gervonta Davis, does he? Have you ever seen a...
Not from what we see in public. Not
yeah,
from what we see publicly.
Apart from buying him cars and stuff like that. But I mean, in terms of his boxing career, he's not elevated Gervonta Davis to the levels where he should be. He's not been promoting him right. And one of the reasons for that is whenever you see Gervonta Davis in a press conference before a fight and he sat next to Floyd always tries to steal the limelight from Gervonta Davis. He's done nothing for any of those other fighters in that stable, apart from maybe take them to the Gucci store and buy him a few shoes and scarves and belts and stuff like that. What has he done for those guys? Nothing. He's a thoroughly bad person in that regard, man. He's got no, you know what I mean? He's just not that guy, bro. He's all about himself. Narcissism on a level that is way above pretty much any boxer or past or present that I've ever seen.
Conrad says here, the bad thing for me is that upcoming fighters are taking an example in him.
Yeah. You see them, don't you? We're doing these little stupid pad routines and stuff like that, wearing his designer clothes and trying to emulate him. You know what I mean? I'll be just so, and that's another reason why I want him to go, to get out of here, man. You know what I mean?
Well, it don't look like he's going anywhere anytime soon. Like I said, twerking for McGregor again, and he got blasted.
That's beyond embarrassing. I mean, Conor McGregor has not fought in years in any combat sports situation, be it boxing or MMA.
Go fight him in a cage, man. That would get people. That would
get exactly. People. Yeah, if you want to go fight McGregor, fight him in the cage and get ripped apart. You know what I mean? No, yeah. Like I said, it's kind of sad in a way for me, somebody who looked up to Floyd so much. And I'm sure I'm not the only one. I'm sure that there's legions of other people who feel the same way. That this is a guy that I once held in the highest esteem, and I'm not even joking.
No, I remember.
Say to me, I remember my dad, God bless his soul, he always used to tease me about being a Mayweather fanboy. You know what I mean? So when I look back at that and I see where he is now, just begging for fights, trying to fight YouTubers, trying to keep his name relevant by doing all these cheesy things, I just think to myself, have you got no shame? Because he was one of the ones that's won in life, innit?
Yeah.
You exited the game with an unbeaten record, 50-0. You made millions and millions of dollars. And here you are begging the game, not so much begging the game, you're just begging people for a bit of clout. You should be above that. You should be retired and using your experience for the betterment of boxing. Instead of that, it's the absolute opposite. You're looking to leech off the game and you're in your mid-40s. It's embarrassing, bro. It's embarrassing.
Well, I'll take it you won't be tuning into that this weekend, man.
No,
So
no. Like I said, Darren, I'm being serious. His name comes up on my phone. Anything to do with him, I scroll past it. I'm not interested in him at all. I just want him to get the hell out. I can't put it any more simple than that. I want him to just get the hell out of boxing. He does nothing good for boxing. He's just on some personal mission to exploit boxing. And I think it's shameful.
Well, listen, man, we'll wrap it up there anyway. There are a lot of good fights to look forward to this weekend. Joyce-Parker, Concecaio, and Stevenson. You've also got Hughes, Galahad over here. So there is quite a lot to look forward to, whether you're watching the Mayweather fight or not. But listen, I know an hour's gone. You're up there in York. I don't want to take too much of your time away. So before we close out, I don't know, when you're back from York, I don't know if you want to do a post-fight reaction to Joyce and Parker.
Yeah, I'm back we leave on Friday early afternoon. So I'll be back in London later that evening, and I'll be around, man. There will be lots to talk about, I'm sure.
Yeah.
2 massive fights this weekend. And of course, as well, we've got a very good domestic fight with Maxi Hughes and Galahad. I think that's a very watchable fight. So yeah, man, there's plenty to talk about. Let's go.
We'll do that then, man.
Yeah,
in
for
the
sure.
meantime, listen, man, enjoy the rest of your time up there. And big up to everyone in the chat, man. Thank you all for the comments. Hit the like button on the way out. Keep sharing the video. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, guys. And we'll see you guys at the weekend, man. Peace out.
Yep, definitely. Look forward to it.